DNA protein interactions by DNA binding domains that have a very special motif, which are called as zinc fingers. And the proteins that have these zinc fingers or zinc as a metal ion within its structure are called as zinc coordinating proteins. So let us look at the learning outcomes of the session. The zinc fingers are DNA binding motifs associated with several transcription factors in the eukaryotic system. The largest family of the zinc finger or the zinc coordinating proteins is the beta beta alpha zinc finger family. So the beta beta alpha over here is looking at a supersecondary structure. So it's basically a fold that is responsible for enabling tetrahedral coordination of one or two zinc ions, and these zinc ions are in a coordination bond between conserved cysteine and histine residues. Many protein subunits with multiple zinc fingers wrap around DNA in a spiral manner. And whenever you have multiple zinc fingers present in a DNA complex that associates with DNA, the binding becomes more specific and the binding becomes more stable as well. There are several families apart from the beta alpha zinc finger family, which include a hormone receptor family, GAL4 family, loop sheet helix, and they are all basically zinc coordinating proteins. Let us first go to the beta beta alpha fold family of the zinc coordinating proteins. So, this basically is the supersecondary motif or the supersecondary structure, which is the beta beta alpha fold. So the beta beta alpha fold has two anti-parallel beta sheets. So you can see this is one beta sheet with a loop coming back to the second beta sheet. These are hydrogen bonded with each other. And apart from these two anti-parallel beta sheets is present the alpha helix. Interestingly, the loop that is attaching the two beta sheets has, say, two cysteine residues, and the alpha helix also within its structure has two histidine residues which are able to coordinate with the zinc. Therefore, this is called as a tetrahedral coordination complex formed between the zinc metal ion and two cysteine and two histidine residues. Now, all these three, whether it is the anti-parallel beta sheets or it is the alpha helix or it is the cysteine and the histidine, all of them are highly conserved. The zinc that is present within the coordination complex is actually stabilizing the entire supersecondary structure motif. You can understand that the motif is quite small. With only two anti-parallel beta sheets and alpha helix, the entire motif in a protein is very small, and this motif is stabilized by the zinc ion. Now, the alpha helix is the one that has three amino acids that can specifically bind to nucleobases present in the major groove. So, the binding of the three amino acids in the alpha helix to the major groove nucleobases is complementary and is specific. Now, what has been observed is that the alpha helix binds to three adjacent base pairs, okay, in the DNA, and it uses the amino acids at position -1. So, -1 position is just before the alpha helix begins. The second, third, and the sixth amino acid relative to the start of the alpha helix. So, therefore, these amino acids are crucial in interacting with the nucleobases through the major or at the major groove. Now, this is one example of how you can see that you have two proteins, and both the proteins, you can see these are the anti-parallel sheets and this is the alpha helix, and you can see how the alpha helix is interacting with the major groove over here. Same is the case with this. These are the two anti-parallel sheets and this is the alpha helix that is interacting with the major groove of the DNA. So that is what is the beta beta alpha fold, and that's the family that is one of the families of the zinc coordinating proteins. So you can see how in various different ways you have the zinc forming a core. You can see that the coordination happening because of the zinc, and the coordination is because of a few conserved amino acids within the secondary structure motif that is leading to formation of a hydrophobic core. Now, in this, you can see that how phenylalanine, and this leucine residue are contributing to the core becoming hydrophobic. And why is the core being hydrophobic, important or significant? It is because we all know that within the DNA, within the two double strands, within the two strands, you have a more hydrophobic environment. So the interaction of the hydrophobic core. So when you have the beta beta alpha fold, or whenever you have the zinc finger, the zinc finger should be able to kind of attach or kind of interact with the nucleobases, which are more in an environment which is hydrophobic, and hence having a hydrophobic core basically helps in interacting with the DNA and the RNA. Now, interestingly, these zinc finger motifs are not only present in the DNA binding domains, but they are also, found to be involved in protein-protein interaction. So you can have zinc fingers enabling binding of one protein to another protein. Zinc finger motifs are found abundantly across all species, whether it is a bacteria or it is a bacteriophage, or whether it is even a high eukaryote or humans, you find them across all species. And due to their specificity in binding, so the binding of the zinc finger is very specific to only a specific sequence in the DNA, and because it is highly specific, this basis or this concept has been used to actually engineer and make artificial zinc fingers in order for that zinc finger to go and bind to a specific site. So say for example, you want to cut the DNA at a specific site. Now you can engineer, say for example, endonucleases in such a way that the endonuclease contains a zinc finger that goes only and specifically binds to a certain region of the DNA, a certain sequence of the DNA. So if the DNA gets cut, it gets cut only where that region is or only where that sequence is. So therefore, a lot of artificial zinc fingers are being designed, especially for therapeutic purposes. These are just showing how different ways by which the coordination complexes are formed, and how because of that you can have several different ways by which the supersecondary structure is formed. Now we go to the next family. Okay, before we go to the next family, there is one important facet about zinc fingers, is that suppose you have only one zinc finger. So you can see over here that this is the beta beta alpha fold. So you have the antiparallel beta sheets and the alpha helix. And we know that the -1 residue, the 3 and the 6 are specifically able to interact at the major groove to say AAG, which means that this zinc finger can go and bind to anywhere in the DNA where you have the AAG. So the binding of the zinc finger to the nucleotide sequence is definitely specific, but then it does not stop this zinc finger to go and bind to any other region in the DNA. So therefore, there is specificity, and yet there is a laxity towards the fact that a single zinc finger can bind to the DNA at various sites. So, and interestingly, if one alters the amino acid at these specific residues, then the zinc fingers binding to the AAG will no longer stand. It will go and bind to another sequence because the amino acids have been changed, and so the complementary binding of the amino acids to the sequence will also change. So you can actually alter the recognition of different on your recognition by the zinc finger to different 3 base pair sequences by just altering the amino acid sequence. Now suppose say for example you have multiple zinc finger domains, and each of the zinc finger able to bind to different 3 base pair sequence which are adjacent to each other, correct? So if they are adjacent to each other, what does this mean? It means that this supersecondary structure, a collective multiple zinc finger domain, is able to bind to a longer stretch of DNA sequence in such a way that three base pair, adjacent base pairs are recognized by the same supersecondary structure. Now, when this is the case, therefore, the specificity by which or with which the zinc fingers bind to the DNA increases. So instead of there being just one three base pair sequence that it can recognize, the zinc finger has to recognize the adjacent base pairs as well. And therefore, the longer the stretch of nucleotides that is getting recognized by the zinc finger, the more specific the interaction is going to be, and there is going to be less binding of the zinc finger to other regions in the DNA. So there are, however, exceptions can always exist. So if you have a protein having 5 zinc fingers, it has been observed that other than that, it's not necessary that all 5 alpha helices have to interact with all the 5 adjacent 3 base pair sequences. It may so happen that alpha helix number 2 and alpha helix number 3 are the only ones that are interacting. The other 3 zinc finger alpha helices are not interacting. So that may be possible. Now let us go to the next family, which is the hormone receptor family. So you have within the hormone receptor family zinc coordinating proteins, and in this family what has been observed that the hormone receptors are generally homodimers or they are heterodimers. What does it mean? It means that they are made up of 2 monomers, not necessarily the monomers being identical. But if the monomers are identical, then they are homodimers. And if the monomers are not identical, then they form what is called as heterodimer. So these hormone receptors have ligand binding domain, which means that they can bind to the respective hormones. They can bind to the DNA. So they have a DNA binding domain, and they can also bind to transcription, or they have what is called as transcription regulatory domain. So they may bind to specific transcription factors. Now, the DNA binding domain has what is the zinc coordinating motif. And in this receptor family, it is 2 antiparallel alpha helices. So you have 2 antiparallel alpha helices capped at the at their end terminus. So every helix ka end terminus you will have a loop. Okay, so you basically have one helix loop here and another helix loop over here. So look at this again, one helix and a loop, and the second helix and the loop. So you basically have 2 helix loop structures. Now therefore each helix loop pair coordinates with a zinc through 4 conserved cysteine residues. So you can see that you have a zinc coordination definitely happening over here, but there are several things that are changing with respect to the motif itself. When you compare it with the beta-beta alpha fold, there you had 2 antiparallel beta sheets, but here you don't have any antiparallel beta sheets. You instead have antiparallel beta alpha helices. So this motif, although a zinc coordinating protein, only has alpha helices, and the loops of the alpha helices are able to form the zinc coordinating complex through, of course, 4 cysteine residues, and these cysteine residues are conserved. So these 2 alpha helices are perpendicular to each other. Generally, they are perpendicular to each other, and they interact with the nucleobases at the major groove. So that part actually is similar to the beta-beta alpha fold that we just observed. The second helix that is there can interact with the DNA backbone. So it can again very similarly act as the helix turn helix motifs. The zinc coordinating motif also binds to what is called as the half sites on DNA. We all know that when you have a homodimer or a heterodimer, then generally both the monomers bind to the DNA. So the DNA should have a recognition site for both the monomers, and so it's through the zinc coordinating motif that the entire protein is able to bind to the half sites on the DNA. Now going to the third family, which is the loop sheet helix family, and this family comprises only of p53. So you have p53 that makes the loop sheet family. Let us look at why it is called the loop sheet helix family. So what you can observe is you see that you have the beta sheets, but you have a loop that is extending out or into the protein and you have an alpha helix. So let's look at this, that basically in the loop sheet helix family, loops come out of the protein and these loops are associated with a small beta sheet, and then this loop with the small beta sheet is attached to or is interacting to an alpha helix, and then that loop that comes out from the alpha helix again enters the protein interior. So therefore externally you will find several loops being present. You can see over here there are loops that are present outside. You have the alpha helices and you have the beta sheets and the loops that are interconnecting the beta sheets with the alpha helix. Now, between two loops, so if you have this loop and this loop, then you will have a coordinating zinc between the two. So here you can see you have zinc between the two loops that are present, and in this case, the histidine, conserved histidine of one loop and a cysteine of one loop and two cysteines of the other loop form the coordination complex. So again you have a coordination complex thanks to cysteine and histidine that are conserved residues in the loops. The alpha helix again has the amino acids that can interact with the nucleobases at the major groove, and the loops may be interacting with the minor groove, okay, or it may also interact with the backbone of the DNA. Now generally a tetramer, so generally the P53 exists as a tetramer with each binding with specific 5 base pair sequence. So you don't have one zinc finger, you have, because it is a tetramer, you will have 4 zinc fingers and therefore it can bind to several 3 base pair sequences positioned adjacent to each other. So therefore the binding of the P53 to the DNA becomes more specific and more stable. Now coming to the Gal4 type family, that actually belongs to the transcription regulator of the gal operon. So we all know that gal operon is responsible for utilization of galactose. And interestingly, what is observed is that the gal4 type family zinc coordinating protein has a pair of alpha helices, as you can see. It has, and these pair of alpha helices coordinating with either 2 zinc ions and 6 cysteine residues, plus one helix is interacting with the nucleobases in the major groove and the second helix interacts with the DNA backbone. So again it is similar to the helix turn helix, but here it is not just 2 alpha helices, it is 2 alpha helices coordinating with 2 zinc ions, and the zinc ions, as mentioned earlier, not just stabilizes the alpha helix supersecondary structure, but also forms a core hydrophobic center that helps interacting with the DNA better. So let us conclude. The zinc coordinating proteins contain within the DNA binding domain alpha helices and beta sheets with conserved cysteine and histidine residues coordinating with a zinc metal ion. The zinc metal ion stabilizes the small supersecondary motif and creates a core hydrophobic environment to enhance interaction with nucleobases in the major groove. Proteins may either have a single zinc finger motif or multiple motifs or subunits with motifs to bind to specific 3 base pair, 5 base pair nucleotide sequences. These zinc coordinating proteins belong to 4 families with minor differences in their structures. One of the therefore several ways by which proteins are able to bind to specific DNA sequences is through the supersecondary structure zinc finger, a motif of combination of helices and beta sheets with a zinc metal ion. Thank you.